Let's bring our next speaker, Nazrul, Head of Innovations from Media Prima Digital.
When I took this picture, my knees were wobbling really wild, okay? Because the snake was like, in front of your face. And it's a wild snake, yeah.
So there's a kind of a lag. The lag is usually because you stay on the side. So,
okay, never mind. Yeah, just wing it. Yeah, the Apple TV doesn't scale, or whatever they're using.
Give it up, Nazrul.
All right, thanks. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about tech. Boring. Because the thing is, is swearing allowed? Yeah, fuck you, man. Peace. Okay, so this is not going to be about tech, and you can actually learn from all the other great speakers that's coming on stage, except from me. But what I'm going to talk about is more about goals. It's more about people. It's more about culture. On how, as a team, you want to build something scalable for the internet. Okay, and a little bit, it's boring stuff that pretty much most of you think is not important, but in reality, it's the key ingredients to achieve scale. And scale here is not only about your technology; it's also about your people. And your people doesn't cover just yourself and your team, but also other stakeholders, which consumers or managers or CEOs. So the idea is that what goes around comes around. Okay, you have a goal, you build people, you get people to achieve those goals, and then you build a culture around it. And then when it goes around and around a long time, you will achieve scale. But how effective and efficient the scale is. So a little bit about myself. I'm a janitor. I do everything basically. Dev, ops, management, hustler. Most of the time, the kind of talks that I give are to corporate people who are just a bunch of idiots. But in this room, it's a lot of more smart people that I'm actually feel very challenged. But I've been doing a lot of startups since 1998 up to 2010. And a lot of them failed and some went okay. And then now I'm a ninja in Media Prima. I'm really a ninja because they don't know me. All right? So, and I organize Google developer groups. We have bi-monthly, sometimes some meetups talking about Google technologies. And coming soon we'll have a big event. So on a regular basis, I deal with these kind of numbers. We have 100 million page views and 10 million visitors. So don't worry, the numbers are inflated, but we're there. We're gonna. Huh? No, say sucks. Say sucks. Just kidding. But the numbers are there. So these are the kind of numbers that I deal regularly, and this covers all of our media properties: the TV news sites, the newspaper news sites, the video sites as well. So it's kind of crazy number, and it's all about reaching the billions. So that is what internet is all about, okay? That is why everybody works on the internet. It's about being able to reach billions, if not billions, trillions of people. And the typical way when we build something for the internet is that we start building things stacked on top of each other. So I tried to design this presentation to put things stacked, but it couldn't work. But as you can see that, you probably have some analytics program, and then you have some data program, search program, and then on top of it you put some UI, and then you put another UI for your consumer. So this is the typical way of building things. The problem with this is that it looks like that, okay? Like layers and layers of different concoction in a glass, okay? But when you put a straw in and then you stir the drink, it all get mixed up, and then when you want to understand what kind of concoction it is, you couldn't figure it out. Okay, you cannot discern the level, the layers. Okay, so it gets fucked up. Okay, when you start doing things like this, it's just like, damn, what am I going to do? How am I going to troubleshoot this bug? Where does this bug actually happen? That is the typical way of doing things, and I tell you, after interviewing thousands of people. Thousands of developers wanted to work with the company, they still think that way. Okay, so that's kind of sad. And in the company, or in myself, I try to practice something that lately the AWS team has been evangelizing, which is service-oriented architecture. So this particular architecture has existed way back since 1970s, 1960s. But pretty much now it's really important because everything is an API. And when everything is an API, and when you start building things on top of these separate services, when one goes down, it won't affect the other. The problem with the previous model is that when one goes down, it will affect the entire stack. Okay? So you should start building your application or whatever ideas that you want to do by using this kind of architecture. Make it service-oriented. Okay? And then make sure test for all the failures that you can find. Okay? And in service-oriented architecture, all that you need to think about is that everything is an API. So the big internet is actually one huge API, right? And designing loosely coupled system is not, I mean, it's hard, okay, but it's not impossible. In my previous project, it took me almost 2 years to actually redesign the entire workflow from content production right up to content delivery. So it's hard, but it's not impossible, okay? And most of the time, it doesn't involve technology, it involves people. Getting people to change the way they work. Okay, that's the tough part. And when you are a startup going towards enterprise, you gotta have this culture built in the beginning. If you start late, you're gonna spend 2 years trying to wash everything and clean things up. And the other benefits of building a service-oriented architecture is you have lower technical debt. Okay, so this I experienced just a couple of days back where we had a problem publishing content. And we managed, because the way we design the architecture is service-oriented, we isolate the bug to the publishing software. It does not affect any other software at all. Okay, so it lowers the technical debt, and I don't have to incur any more debts in the future because I designed the system in such a way that it should not affect other services. The other benefits is faster iterations and improvements. When you do product development, and when you are a startup, you need to move really fast. So when you build this kind of architecture, it actually helps you speed up things. And the best part of building something in SOA is focus. And this focus is not about having one team doing one thing, but it's more like you know what problems you need to solve. Okay, because in my team, we are pretty much one engineer doing 10 things, not 10 engineers doing one thing. So the problems or the questions that you might ask yourself when you start thinking about service-oriented architecture is, where can I find competent people to help me build this kind of architecture, and where can I find the right manpower, right? So it brings me to the next point, which is, okay, so people. So this is the Buffer team, and I think if you use Buffer and you read about Buffer, they are pretty much a distributed company around the world. Everybody does not work in office. I don't know why we are still practicing office. And people. So people build the internet, not robots. Okay? Although robots will soon take over the world, but people build the internet first. Okay? So, and it starts with Amazon, with the drones. So, just kidding. So, people build the internet, not robots. And when it comes to competency, all the good men and women have gone Facebook. All the good men and good women have gone Google. All the good men and good women have gone Oracle. All the good men they pretty much go to all these big companies which can pay them big salary, and give them comfortable benefits and things like that. Pretty much, I'm the best example. I've gone Media Prima. So, so the thing is, this is what happens. This is reality, right? Then when you start hiring people, okay, you start seeing people who are just mediocre. They are so not so great, not so great, but not so bad either. So you, in the beginning, you tend to develop a prejudice point of view that you say, this is my criteria for an engineer. This is the standard. I don't want to go anything lower than that. But the reality is that when you do that, you're actually throwing not recycling or helping the entire environment by producing or helping nurture these developers to go to become good, and then when they go out of the working world or they quit your working for your company, they want to work somewhere else, they are much better developer. So the thing is, when you have this kind of prejudice, you pretty much throwing back unskilled people out in the market, and everybody else gonna get all the same one. So do not be prejudiced towards unskilled people, okay? And the other thing is that a lot of guys, I mean HR, I work a lot of times with HR. They keep asking me what kind of skill requirements that I want for my team. So my general answer is that I don't care actually. What I really care is the fucking attitude. The thing is as long as that person is not an asshole, I'm cool with it. Okay? He can be a good asshole, but if you're an idiot asshole, that's not cool. Okay? So skill can be taught. And for us as web workers, we learn constantly. We learn new technologies. So by nature, we should be able to also understand that when someone is not good, you must try and teach that person to be good. Okay? So, and skill is important, but not as important as the attitude. So you can hire the best developer in the world, but if that developer is an asshole like Mark Zuckerberg, but you just doesn't work. Okay? So I'm just quoting from the movie, not the real one. So then we talk about manpower. So the triple X number of people in your team does not actually make a good product for you. Okay? And I've seen it in my own team as well. Now we have only 2 designers, 2 developers, and myself, the janitor. So, and we have to maintain all these big sites. Okay? And it does not actually mean that you're going to have a better team, because I have another team that have a lot of people. So numbers doesn't tell, makes you good, all right? Especially when it comes to people. And then in manpower, when you hire somebody, you gotta teach focus. You gotta implement focus, and you gotta be strict about it. If you need to actually bring a whip and whip people to be focused, not to be distracted by anything else, other than that pretty girl walking down the aisle or pass by your cubicle, you just have to be strict about it. Focus is really important. And then within the manpower perspective, that continuous delivery of knowledge within the team is very important. So if you start hiring the lower skill developers for you to nurture, you will notice that they are much shy than you are to actually ask questions. So you got to start developing that communication skill with them. And sooner or later, I have this one guy who's been with me for 3 years. So from a quiet person, he becomes the most talkative person in the team in 3 years. But it took 3 years. And I can write down in my resume, I made this guy talk. So that is my achievement. Because from a shy person, he becomes very outspoken, and he can communicate his problems, and he can receive feedback from our customers or our consumers much better by understanding the problem much better. So these kind of things is very important, okay? And then you force collaboration, okay? And most of the time they will fuck it up, and because people and most of us are used to working in silos, okay? So, but they will learn, okay? So, but you have to force this into them. You have to get the designer and the developer to work together. You have to get the designer and the ops guy to work together. So you got to get them working together so that each of them can understand where the problem, or how everything works. Okay, that's quite important. So when you have this kind of ideas in mind, and then those are the kind of solutions that I have when those 2 questions came out, is that I start building a service-oriented team. So I have one person that takes care of all of the services, the API services, and I have another designer, front-end guy, taking care of the admin UI. So the benefit of doing this kind of model is that one guy will know everything else, okay? And the drawback of implementing such model is that when that guy goes sick, nobody else knows what to do. Okay? That's a common problem. All right? So you got to have redundancy not only with the technology that you use, but also people. Okay? And most of the time, these kind of things are not being thought of properly by most web workers, including myself. So I learned the hard way. So the other part is that the best way to build a team, a service-oriented team, is having each engineer, one engineer dedicated to a particular service. So this is the best way because they become, they start feeling ownership towards the particular product, and they really know, and they will make that effort to actually improve the product. And most of the time, 95% of the time, it works. Okay, and the satisfaction and happiness level of your team members goes up higher. I collected data for all this, so my team was much more happier than 3 years ago. No, because the problem is, the common problem is that one engineer works on 10 projects, so it doesn't scale at all, you know. So like Facebook or Google, you know, they have thousands of engineers working on one particular product. But in Malaysia, we kind of fucked up, you know. We just want one engineer working on anything. That's not right, okay? That's not right. Whoever is a startup founder, you do that, fuck you. So these are the people, right? And the final thing that I want to talk about, and I got time. All right, so it's culture. So as you can see here, you can see some almost half-naked women, and this is the Burning Man. So I will go to this Burning Man before I die. And everybody must go, so you can get high. So the thing is, culture. So culture is interesting. And culture is the stuff that fills the internet. If you really think about it, those are the stuff that fills the internet. People have so much different things about themselves, there's so much diversity. Those are the things that's filling up the internet. So culture is pretty important when you try to build something that is scalable. And you need to understand this as well. So culture is what makes us sexy. And that's really important. It works, you know, because before I got married, I went to Bali alone. So I tried to pretend myself to be a Myanmar guy, and also Indonesian guy, and a Malaysian guy at 3 different beaches, and it works. I get all the chicks that I wanted. Okay? So culture is sexy, really sexy, all right? And it also kind of like important when you try to build a team to adopt or even grow something that scale on the internet. So in a culture, these are just my 4 points that I want to share with you is always learn, always keep learning, always experiment. Rigidity is necessity. It's important to be structured as well, but it's not a requirement. Okay? The problem with most startup towards corporate and corporate towards startup is that they think that it is a requirement. A structure is a requirement, not a necessity. You know, if you don't need a structure, you don't need to implement such things. So everybody makes mistakes. Nobody should be punished. Okay, but everybody deserves a scolding once in a while, including myself. So, and this is something that you need to do continuously. There is a study which I cannot find the source saying that a person who is continuously being scolded by his mother is much intelligent than a person who's being left behind by the mother. That's true. If you are a father or you're a father to a kid, I am not yet a father, hopefully soon, but I will scold my kid because I remember how my mother whipped me every day. Okay? And it has made me to become the person I am today, which is also a fuck up. But the thing is, it works. I experimented with my team where I continuously scold them. Shut the fuck up. So I continuously scold them, and I kind of like say that I'm doing this not to make you feel embarrassed. I just want you to actually take the effort to learn more and make the effort more. Okay? And another thing is that collaborate. You keep collaborate. And the most important thing is that when you want to build a team for the internet, you need to have trust. Without trust, scale will fail. Like building a system as well, you're trusting the system talking to each other. If you don't trust the system, it will fail. So trust goes both ways, people and technology as well. And last but not least, I want to leave this awesomeness hall to tell you that build a team, cultivate a culture, keep calm, keep learning, and make the internet awesome. Thank you very much.